Welcome into today's podcast, right here at the Cog Hill 40. Peaches wouldn't let Nugget into the canned ham for this episode, so here's Jason and Brooke. Johnny Carson didn't have nothing on these folks.
What is happening, y'all? This is another episode of the Codcast.
I know what you mean.
Podcast coming at you from a chilly day here on the 40. I think it got down to 19 last night. 19
But
degrees.
you know what? It
What's
did
that?
not get cold in our camper due to our oil-filled heaters.
The camper worked out
Is that
well
what it's
last
called?
night. It is. They worked well, and I did something different. So, as you guys know, we have had issues in the past of our water hose freezing in the camper. And so I told you, I said, I got a plan. I filled the freshwater tank up. It has a heater on it to keep it from freezing. So I filled it up, disconnected the water hose, let it drain completely out, and we had water.
And we could TT and flush the pot
Yep.
and brush our teeth
We
and
could.
not use bottled water. And it was all nice and
Yes.
wonderful.
That was a good learning experience. Only took me 6 months to figure it out, but
That's okay.
I got it
There's
figured
no
out.
telling what you're going to figure out in the next 6 months. Right?
oh, that's right. Oh my gracious, camper living.
Camper living.
Oh man, you know it hasn't been just because we're not in there all day,
We're not in there hardly at all.
and so the nighttime kind of does get a little crowded in there. But I don't know. I'm semi used to it.
Well, I think our biggest thing has been we have umpteen jackets.
Yeah.
And we have a light jacket, we have a heavy jacket, we have a rain jacket, and we all three have one. So
Yep.
that's 9 jackets that we really just leave laying around.
Jackets and shoes.
Jackets and shoes.
Yep.
Jason and I have pretty much 1 pair of shoes each, and Marycarl has 22 pairs. And they all tend to wind up right in the entry.
Yep, because she takes her shoes off or she goes in,
Yeah.
and then they just kind of pile up when you talk about all 3 of us having shoes right there at the entry. So,
We have to remind her, Marycarl, you need to put these shoes up. Okay. So,
so that's been the biggest thing.
but I tell you what, as cold as it was yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
yesterday was the coldest daytime temperatures for the whole day
Right.
that we have had in 2022.
Yep. But
Maybe
that's correct.
2021.
I don't know. We had a couple of cool days. I don't know. Maybe
But-
you're right.
I just can't sit in the camper. I can't sit in the house. It's not to do with the camper. I can't sit anywhere.
Yeah, we have a hard time sitting still. All of us.
I mean, and plus that, when you're in a cramped quarters, what is there to do besides, play on your phone or watch TV? And that's just not our forte.
Nope.
Unless we're focusing on doing something for the farm.
Right.
So we had picked up some material for the aviary.
Well, not only was it cold yesterday, the wind was absolutely brutal. We have been through I don't know how many storms here in the camper, and we're always extremely cautious. We're well planned, way in ahead. We do have a community storm shelter. Is it even a mile down the road?
I don't think so.
Right down the road. So we're always on our P's and Q's. We're absolutely diligent on weather because we're in this camper. And so, they said that it was going to be this huge cold front coming in because we went from, 2 days ago, it was 70 plus, and
In
we
the
could
80s, actually.
easily have worn shorts 2 days ago. And I think this has been everybody across the whole country. So we were very, very diligent watching the weather. There was not really any issues of type severe weather in our area, just this cold front and this wind advisory.
Yeah, I take it that the wind brought the weather, not necessarily the storms, because it was a little bit of lightning, but very minimal.
Very minimal. We did get a good bit of rain.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like it was, crazy, crazy weather like we can have in Alabama. But the wind was absolutely, I did get a little nervous
I
at
did, too.
sometimes.
You could literally feel the camper
Yeah.
going back and forth.
And I've done a lot of research. It takes a lot of wind to turn a camper over. Lot of wind.
I finally got to the point where I said, if it tumps over, it tumps over. I just hope for the best, and that's all you can do.
That's all you can do. But, you have to tell yourself, it's a lot worse in that camper than it is than what you really think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Because Mama said that, she said, why didn't y'all rest? Because I told her we just didn't sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, why didn't y'all rest? And I said, Mama, you can't imagine what the wind sounded like in that camper.
Because there's hardly any insulation in that camper.
And she said that while she could hear the wind, she can't imagine what it was compared to being in the camper.
Right.
It's night and day difference in the tiny house to the camper.
It is. And plus you have, all that stuff on the top of the camper, and that wind hits it, and it just makes these just a lot of noises. And I'm sure campers are not sealed tight, so you get a lot of noise, and I'm sure it's way worse. But it was by far the worst wind, in my opinion, that we've had. And we've had some big storms come through with big winds. And so at 5:30, I peeked outside, and to my amazement, there was nothing that appeared to be damaged, and I could not believe it. First thing I looked at, I could see the greenhouse, but I didn't have my glasses on, and it was, early
you could just
morning.
See the structure was still there.
But it looked like it had dropped down a little bit, and I was like, maybe my eyes are playing tricks on me. And then I looked at it, all the shelters. I saw Nugget Shelter, which I could not believe had not been ripped to pieces. And then all the porta huts were still in position, because one time before, Joe's and Topper's porta hut had moved halfway down the pasture.
Right.
We've had the trampoline. I couldn't think of what it was called. I was really worried about it, even though we do have it anchored down. But there was nothing. We've had one of those little bitty chicken coops before come apart.
Yeah, nothing was in it at the time, and it did fall over when it hit the ground. It's just dowels that hold it with glue. And it hit the ground, and the roof parts came apart, and we were like, there goes that one, but we were able to put it back together. So,
and they were all fine. And we even had the peacock shelter move 4 or 5 foot
before.
But I guess it depends on what direction it's coming from. This looked like it was coming from the west, that way.
Well, see, I thought it was coming from the south, according to the radar.
I think we're getting a westward north every now and then, and that's why it damaged the greenhouse. And that's why it didn't affect the peacock shelter and all the other stuff, because I think it just got blocked.
Gotcha.
Because you could stand on the other side of the pods and not feel anything. Yep.
Well, I tell you, I was even, as loud as it sounded, I was even worried about the Purple Pigeon Palace.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got poles now setting up on both sides, and one side of it is completely to where it couldn't topple that way. It would have to go only one direction.
Mm-hmm.
But as loud as it sounded, I was just going, oh, no.
Yeah. It would take some. It's kind of like the camper. It would take some serious wind.
Yeah, I mean, a tornado can do anything that you can't control.
Right.
But I'm thankful that nothing else was damaged besides the greenhouse.
Well, yeah, that's what I was getting to. I went and looked at the greenhouse, and I could see the panels were off on the back. I could see that when I was walking up. I was literally shocked that those vents in the roof, because they're held on
literally by a screw,
they were still there, and I could not believe it. When I walked around the front, I saw the door and the door frame. Everything that held the door on was trash. That didn't shock me too bad, except when I went inside and the tables were turned over. My ceilings, luckily the table flipped and it got wedged, and the ceilings were like this and were hitting the wall of the greenhouse. If it had flipped all the way over, they would have crashed, and they would have been gone. They would have been gone. There was one tray of sunflowers that looked really, really bad. They were drooping down because it got into around 30 degrees that night. It was below freezing when that cold front came in. So you had 30 degrees and high winds.
And nothing protecting the seeds because the front was gone.
And I was like, this is not good. So I had to take everything out. It probably took me 3 hours, I'm guessing, to get everything pulled out and to get the greenhouse rigged up and everything put back in. And later that day, the ceilings all looked good. And then we had 19 degrees coming in last night after the windstorm. So I was worried about the ceilings in, because the greenhouse has got a tarp on the front of it, and I got it zip tied up with rocks and bricks holding the front down. And so I was worried. I cut the heat lights on. Had the mats cranked up, and then I put a frost cloth over the seedlings. And this morning, they were completely fine. So we're good to go. But we are researching greenhouses, and it looks like we're just going to have to. I thought I could get by this year and get some experience under my belt with this whole flower farm business. But that greenhouse is not going to make it.
It's not going to make it. And it's just simply the fact that we're in a wide open pasture type, layout. And the winds just circle this place like.
It does. It circles it. And that's when we planted the cryptomeria all the way across the front. It's going to eventually be a windbreak from us. But I will say this. I will give that little Harbor Freight greenhouse credit. It has survived 2 tropical storms. It has survived a hurricane. It has survived every storm that's been thrown at it out here in the wide open until day before yesterday.
I just can't believe it made it as well as it did. I mean, you were able to put it back together to make it work until we get something else.
Yeah.
Now, who's to say that another one won't come in next week and blow it all to pieces?
Right.
But we're going to start on researching some. And we've had some people send some links to ones that they have and love. And thank you guys for that. If you have a greenhouse and you love it and it has withstood windstorms, whatever, send us a link to it.
Yeah, please do, because I am greenhouse dumb. I'm totally, and you got the hoop style, which people call them hoop houses or hot houses, and then you got a greenhouse style, and, I just don't kind of know what we need or what's going to work, or if I buy the wrong one, so I got to do a lot more research on it. But
the one yesterday that the subscriber sent
really
was
loved it.
One that we had never seen before.
I have not seen it before.
And
we loved it.
There's so many out there. It's just so many companies out there.
It is.
If you got one, like I said, that you love, send us a link to it. An email. Email would be best.
And we're looking for one that is going to be bigger and kind of meet our needs and kind of be on the commercial side, but it don't have to look like a commercial greenhouse. So that's just kind of where we are. The Harbor Freight or the ones you get from Tractor Supply or Home Depot, whatever, it's just not going to work for us.
It's not going to. It's held its own until now,
Yep.
But it's kind of like trying to get by with a car until you start a construction company, and then you got to have a truck.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, we've made it work
You're
until
right.
now, and we're just to the point where we got to have something different. And I don't want to have that expense of having to buy one, but
That's right.
What are we gonna do?
What are we gonna do?
We can't just let them sit out in the wide open.
Yep.
They're not gonna start that way.
And this is something that I really want to do, and so I'm going in it. I'm gonna go all in, and so I gotta have a greenhouse.
It'd be awesome if we could find a company that would reach out to us and let us give their product some exposure, and in turn let us use it.
Yeah, that would be great too. We'll see how that works out. God, I was fixing to say something. Dadgummit.
The wind did show on the weather that it was going to stop yesterday at about 6 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock yesterday evening, it was kind of like a switch. The wind stopped.
Y'all, I went and checked on the greenhouse. Actually, I think I went and cut the heat lights on and hadn't made sure the heat mats were going before I put the frost cloth on. And it was at 5:30, and that wind was still whooping because I had that tarp on the front, and that tarp would beat me to death going in and out. And so I did all that, and I actually robbed my green stalk frost cover. I robbed when I borrowed it, and it covers my green stalks up, and I took it and I used it for the ceilings, and by the time I got in or got out and come inside to eat supper, it was you could hear a pin drop outside.
That's what I say. It was like a switch. I mean, you always tell me to that you can't necessarily go by the hour to hour or looking at the radar.
The future radar is the one to really have to watch for.
But they were spot on yesterday about when that wind was going to stop, because we were able to get a good night's rest last night, thank goodness.
Yes.
And I think it wasn't so much that we were worried the night before. I mean, maybe we were, but it was just that you couldn't rest.
It's so loud, and I kept looking, plus I'm steadily watching the radar and the phone and making sure everything's okay, because if we got to get up and go, then we got to get up and go, and just that kind of thing. And you just don't rest. And plus, too, once you wake up, you're awake.
That's it. And you look at that phone, and it's over.
Yeah, you look at the phone, it's over.
But we never lost power.
Knock on wood, we've said it before. We've been here 6 months nearly. And we lost power one time.
But it was short-lived.
Short-lived. And I don't know if it's because of all the pasture land around here and there's no trees for it to fall on.
We had some friends who live in the city of Clanton in Chilton County, which is the same county we're in.
Right.
They lost power, and they had 125 broiler chicks that they said they put in their bathtub to, with some type of heat to try to keep them warm and keep from losing them.
We've been there and done that.
We have, and it is not fun.
Very stressful.
Well,
very, very stressful.
I had a message on my phone first thing yesterday morning once we finally did wake up, and it was from the people that purchased our little cog.
Yes.
And they wanted to know of a tree cutting service because they lost a big tree.
Big tree. Said it fell across the driveway at Little Cog.
Fell across the driveway. It actually split, is what I understand, from, I think she said about 8 foot up, and it just fell across the driveway. And
I guess it probably had a weak point on it. And see, they got the same wind we did.
Yeah.
And I guess, and plus probably putting on leaves now too.
Yeah.
Kind of like a sail and the weight.
But I kind of felt like when we were there that we had lost all the trees we could possibly ever lose.
Yeah, we lost so many trees.
Because we've been through so many storms and so much weather. But, it's unfortunate. But that's one less that they will have to contend with, because it fell and it didn't harm anything, didn't hit anything, didn't cause any damage.
Thank goodness.
They just needed somebody to come and get the tree off.
Thank goodness. That's the thing. Those trees were so beautiful around Little Cog. But when we had big storms...
You were worried.
Well, you were worried.
You really were always worried.
Always worried. Yep.
While there were not any around the immediate house, there were some huge trees that you just didn't ever know what way they were going to fall.
You just don't
Depends
know.
on which way the wind blows.
Mm-hmm.
So, unfortunate for them. Hate that happened, but at least nothing was damaged.
At least nothing was damaged. Thank goodness.
So, storms are gone. We got a little rain coming back on Tuesday. I looked at that, and you know what?
What's that?
We had said in the last podcast that Tracy would be doing this one.
Yeah, she is coming this week. Today's Sunday, so she'll be coming this week.
Is she coming here?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So Tuesday, Tracy will be here and do the podcast. That's the tentative schedule.
That's
we don't
the
want to
tentative
promise
schedule.
anything. You never know. I mean, if storms are coming, we don't know what'll happen. But
I kind of wish it wasn't going to rain, because I wanted to ask her some questions around here. But
we'll
see.
That's what I'm saying. Is if it doesn't work out for this week, then we might just have to wait till next week.
Wait till next week.
I'll see.
Talk to her. I'll send her a message, because we've been kind of watching the weather.
Yeah, we'll see what happens, but that's the tentative schedule.
That is the tentative schedule. So hopefully Tracy from Just Dig It Farm, who is a guru when it comes to gardening and garden design, so I can't wait to have her here on the podcast. Well, we've been saying we're going to do a Q&A for a while, and so I have written down some questions that I took from the previous podcast throughout the weeks, and I think we'll just get into some of these questions here, and hopefully we'll answer some of your questions that you've been wanting to know about Cog Hill.
Yep.
And this one has came up several times, and that is about bees. Are we getting bees?
Are we getting bees?
Yes.
We have a lot of bees here.
Well, I was a little... my lip was poked out this morning, because I have a guy where I go out into the flower farm, and we had the cover crop planted, and we had all these radishes. They're tillage radishes. Some people call them daikon radishes. But anyways, they have been in bloom. And you can go out there and you can literally hear bees everywhere. And it's native bumblebees, which is awesome because they're on a decline bad, and honeybees.
Uh-huh.
And I have found myself sitting out there, Indian style, just enjoying it. And I can't tell you how calming and relaxing that's been. But I went out there this morning, Not that they were black but you can see the blooms have closed up because of that hard weather. But I got a feeling they're going to pop back out.
I was going to say, this afternoon is supposed to be 58 degrees.
Yes.
Which is a quite change from 19 last night. 58 degrees is going to be enough to get those heads back up.
I think so.
Just like mine. Yeah. My head's not going to hang this afternoon. I'm going to be up and I'm going to be giddy.
That's right.
And so are the bees.
So are the bees. But yes, we are getting bees, but they will not be Cog Hill bees.
If you have followed us for any amount of time, you know that we have been through our experience with bees.
Yes, and it has not been a good experience whatsoever. We have totally failed at bees twice. And I say the second time we failed, not that we actually failed, we just didn't have time. We ended up selling these bees to actually the lady that's bringing bees here.
That's right. Miss Tanya Drake in McCalla, Alabama, has bees, and she is a very, very good beekeeper. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, Tracy and I have talked about Tanya. Tracy at Just Dig It Farm, and Tracy says that Tanya is an awesome beekeeper. Well, we had already seen her come and get the hives from us and share some of her knowledge, but to hear somebody else say she's a very good beekeeper lets you know just how good she is. And it's not going to matter to us what kind of beekeeper she is because she's going to maintain them all.
Yeah, it's going to be her hives. She's going to maintain them. They'll be here on the farm. There should be plenty of things from to eat here because we've already seen it just with our radishes.
Yeah.
So once the flower farm gets kicking and our fruit trees are blooming and all the native trees are blooming, we're going to be good.
Well, Tanya's going to come over and make a trip and take a look around our property and see where she thinks the best place to put the bees is because, we have some ideas in our mind, but we want to not share that with her and let her come out fresh and say what she thinks. And she's the one that's going to maintain them, so she needs to pick the place that she thinks that they'll do the best.
Right.
And she will maintain them, like I said, and extract the honey and take care of them. And she does have a place in Chilton County already that she takes care of her own bees. So she's kind of out of space from what I understand.
Yep, that's what she's telling us, that she is kind of ran out of room. So
it'll be beneficial for her to be able to have another source for her bees to be able to eat and thrive, and that will be here at Cog Hill 40.
So there'll be some Cog Hill honey.
Cog Hill honey. But when she comes over, she's going to go over a place that she can enter and not bother us, which she wouldn't be bothering us, and I'm thinking that Mr. Gregg's entrance that he's built over there, it's an awesome road, except for when it rains a lot.
Yep.
That she can come and go as she pleases. And come in. She don't have to tell us or anything. She can just come in, tend to her bees. And, of course, if we're here and she wants to visit, that's up to her. But, I think it'll just be great. It'll just be like rented if you rented a plot of land.
Yeah, I think so, too. And, we may end up getting us some bee suits and go over there and watching her.
Yeah, but we're not going to tend to them.
We're not going to tend to them. Bees are not my forte.
I think they're amazing, and I'm just very in awe of everything that goes on with bees. But once you try twice and you realize that you're not successful, it's kind of like you might want to move on to something else and let the experts take care of it.
And I was so excited about them, but I had found myself not enjoying it. None of us did. Me, you, or Marycarl enjoyed working the bees, and just like anything else, if you don't like it, then you're not going to do it.
Then you're not going to do it. And people don't realize how much there is to maintaining bees.
Of work.
You don't just set them and forget them, because if you do, you'll end up with a dead hive.
Yep.
And that may be hard for you to believe because they thrive in Mother Nature, but in a box, they can get hive beetles. They can get wax moths, mites. Yeah. There's all kind of things that you have to treat and make sure that those hives are maintained, and we just ain't up for it.
And not only that, to know when there's too much brood and add more boxes and take boxes out and split them and extract the honey, and know when it was just way too much, and we did not enjoy it at all.
Our brains are saturated with things that we do well.
Yeah.
And so I think we continue to saturate that we already know and use that sponge that's already there instead of creating another one.
That's right. Plus, always try new things.
Yeah, it's
but
not
you
that
never
we're
know.
shut off
Yeah.
from learning new things, because you can never learn too much. But I feel like we're just at the point where that's not our forte.
Yeah, none of us enjoyed bees, unfortunately, because I was so excited about it. So excited about it.
And we did try. We had books, we had research, we had, all kinds of mentors, but it just didn't.
Just didn't work.
It didn't take.
Didn't take. Somebody wanted to know if Marycarl still has her tree swing, and actually she has 2.
3,
3? Where's the third one?
if I'm right.
She's got the one by your mom's, and she's got the one that we bought her for Christmas.
Oh, you're right. Only 2.
2 tree swings. She's got the one that come from Cog Hill, that big one that's in front of your mom's tiny house on a huge oak tree. And she's got the what's it called? Surfer? Swerfer. Now, she really loves it. And it's like a surfboard
in
swing.
the air. It's cool.
She loves that thing. Oh, my gracious. And she scares me half to death on it, but I don't say nothing.
Well, she always wants me to go with her, and which is odd.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Marycarl, why do you want me to go with you? Which, I mean, I'm honored that she wants me to go with me.
Yeah.
But she thinks she heard some wild pigs in the...
Oh, so she's gotten a little nervous about it.
Yeah, so she wants me to go with her because, y'all know I could take down a wild pig in a second.
Yeah.
So... She which is odd because she's never laid eyes on a wild pig. We've never seen any wild pig.
Never seen one here.
But she says that she knows what they sound like, and she heard them.
Maybe she did.
But that swing is awesome.
It is awesome. She does all these tricks on it, and
A swerfer.
it's a swerfer. American made in USA. It was a dad that had kids, and he invented this swing for his children. And then, of course, he patented it and sells them now. But they are so cool.
Swerfer. SWURFER, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
I did it, and
yeah, it'll hold us.
Oh yeah, it's cool as beans, but when I get off, I'm still moving.
You still moving?
So I'm not. I'm
gonna
not
take a Dramamine before you get on the
I'm
Swerfer.
not a swerfer. I'll be taking a Dramamine before I get on that airplane. You can bet your bottom dollar. The last time we flew, I took something that was a Dramamine natural.
All natural.
And it did not make me sleepy, and I actually tolerated the flight
You
quite
did?
well.
Can you remember what it was?
Huh?
I can't remember what that was. Do you remember?
I still got the
it was
box.
Like
I know it's
ginger or something.
expired, but I still got it, so I can get a new.
Okay.
The flight is 2 hours, so I don't look forward to it.
Yeah, we'll have to download some stuff on our phones so we can.
Oh no, I'm just gonna be tight the whole time.
Yeah. And we're all 3 not sitting together.
Oh well, we're gonna change that. Some nice person's gonna say, "Here, you can have my seat."
Okay.
I'm not worried about
you and
that.
Marycarl are side by side, but I'm not.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
We're gonna be side by side after I get my talking done with them.
I'm gonna charm them.
Yeah, I'm telling them, get your behiney out of my husband's seat. This seat is taken.
Oh, me, that's funny. What kind of internal parasites do chickens actually get? The main one is probably hookworm, tapeworm. What are you thinking?
The main one is roundworm.
Roundworm, that's right. Roundworm, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
They do get tapeworm. They do get gapeworms.
Gapeworms.
And I'm sure there's some more, but the roundworm is the main one.
Yeah, that's the one you'll see.
Yeah.
The other ones are there, but they're microscopic.
Yeah.
So unless you're doing a fecal, you're not going to see those parasites. But it's like everything on your farm. Everything on your farm has parasites.
Yeah.
Whether you see it or not.
Right.
They're there.
You just want to try to keep the load down.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to wonder if we have those parasites too and nobody knows about it. There has to be something.
I'm sure. I mean, everything has it. And, well, it's just like dogs. The whole thing with heartworms, we've always assumed when you give them heartworm treatment, it's to prevent heartworms. It's not to prevent heartworms. It's to keep the heartworm load down.
Maintainable.
Yeah. So it's the same thing.
I can remember being a kid, and I think I've said this on the podcast before, that we had a Doberman Pinscher.
Yep.
And every year, my dad, would take the dog to the vet for his annual shots, and I would go with him because it was just a highlight of my year. So in the office, sitting on the counter, they had a heart, and it was like preserved.
Yeah, I remember that.
Preserved in formaldehyde, I guess is what the solution was that they would preserve it in. And engulfed around that heart was what looked like spaghetti noodles.
Looked like spaghetti.
And it was surrounding that dog's heart.
Yep.
And it was just a simple notification to tell you your dog needs heartworm treatment. And the treatment, I'm calling it treatment. They do a treatment if you become engulfed with heartworms.
Yes.
Preventative.
Yep.
To give your dog heartworm preventative. And that was just to keep the load light enough to where it wouldn't engulf that heart to where it couldn't do its job. Mm-hmm. Because you have to imagine if a string gets wrapped around your heart, it's not going to pump correctly.
Right.
So if those heartworms get engulfed around the heart, guess what? It's not going to pump correctly.
That's right.
So here's the kicker.
What's that?
When the people bought Little Cog,
mm-hmm.
they asked me about heartworm preventative
mm-hmm.
because they didn't have to do it.
Isn't that something? Because they don't have, it's spread by mosquitoes.
And they were in Seattle, Washington, and I guess they didn't have that to contend with.
Yep. That's crazy.
They wanted to know, what we did as far as heartworm preventative because they had been told that was something we did here in the South.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that line is, where they...
I don't know where it is, too. I don't know where the heartworm preventative line is in the United States.
But they, the number one selling heart preventative for dogs in the South is HeartGuard, and it's just a medicine that they take every month, and our dogs actually love it. They
make it. It looks like a treat.
It looks like a treat.
Yeah.
It must taste like one, too.
Must taste like one.
Gidget's the Pomeranian, and she'll take the rest of them out for a heartworm.
That's right.
Heartworm treatment, but has to be done, or else they'll
have to have
the actual treatment, which they go in and they used to be real bad, but I think now it's not that bad.
Yeah, I think it's just all they do is just give them the basically the same medicine. They do it in stages because what happened is if you give them the medicine and they're like that heart you showed. And so it goes in and kills all the worms. So then you got all those dead worms in the system.
Surrounding the heart, probably.
So you want to do it gradually.
I guess you're right.
You want to do it gradually.
But
so that's how it
it's
works.
always kind of hard on the dog, from what I understand.
Because the heart could be weak and you don't want them to get excited and all that. So you just want it to be a gradual process. And that's kind of how it works.
And that's why we do the preventative, to keep from getting to the point where they have to be treated.
Right.
If you do that preventative, you don't have that.
That's right.
Why do we get off on, because of parasites in chickens?
That's right. Are we getting donkeys?
Let me tell you. What were you doing?
I was, were we planting the trees? I think we were planting the trees by the gate. I think that's what we're doing.
The people across the street have donkeys. They have cows. They have donkeys.
Mm-hmm.
We never see the donkeys. We hear the donkeys, and I say we never see them. We see them. They look like a spot because
it's a big pasture.
It's a big pasture.
Huge pasture.
So, you hear it across the pasture, but we just never really see them.
Don't really see them. And I'm assuming they have them for protection, because that is one thing here that a lot of cattle farmers do here is they get donkeys.
Or goat farmers or whatever.
Yeah, but we usually mainly cattle farmers here.
Yeah.
And they use them, especially during calving season, is to protect the herd of cows from coyotes. Donkeys do not like coyotes. But they don't like canines, period.
Right.
So you have to be really careful with your own dogs around donkeys.
So we had been up at the front of our property all day, planting trees and putting out mulch and doing different things. And lo and behold, we were just about finished.
Yep.
We must have been getting close to winding up. And we look up, and there are 3 donkeys standing across the street, almost looking dead at us. At the fence, which we had never seen before. And
Not
I was
that close.
Well, guess what I got to do? I got to go see if they're friendly.
Yep.
So I go out the gate, and you're still standing inside the gate. And I walk across the street, and lo and behold, to my amazement, I walked right up to a white one that was standing there. And I could still be loving on it. This is days later.
It was days later. it sat there, and you petted it and petted it and petted it.
I petted it and petted it and petted it. And finally, I'll have to show that picture. This is funny. I sent Marycarl message.
Yeah.
Because she was in the camper, and I said, "You gotta come here." And she said, "What is it?" And I said, "Just come here." And I sent her a picture. Some people say don't do that because they can't see the picture, but this is the best we can do. So either take it or...
I think I can see it good that time.
Okay.
Yeah, they can see it good.
So that's my friend, and I named her Snow White. And Marycarl came, and she crossed the street and came over, and she was like, "Mama, I can't believe it. I've never touched a donkey." And I said, "Well, guess what? I hadn't either."
Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever touched a donkey. And its hair was coarse, but she was so sweet.
She was sweet because y'all stayed over there. I don't know.
I'm telling you, if it was not getting nightfall, I would still be there because she loved me and I loved her. And
that was funny.
There were 2 other donkeys and they got close, but they weren't wanting any rub downs or anything like that. They just kind of stayed back. And it was finally me that walked off and told her, I'm done, because she would continue to let me love on her. And I've been looking every time I go outside to make sure Snow White's not standing. I don't know what her name is. I named her Snow White.
You named her Snow White.
To make sure she's not up there looking for me. But they're obviously people
interact with them because she was so friendly.
Yeah, I mean, she wanted...
But the other 2 wouldn't, but that one was.
That one was.
That one was so friendly.
She appeared to be old.
And she was... I don't know donkey breeds, but you think she was a Jesus donkey.
Yeah, Marycarl said she was because she had a cross on her back.
The other 2 were dark brown, wasn't they?
Yeah.
They wasn't white like her. So it may be a breed thing. I don't know.
I don't know either, but I was so happy to know that she trusted me enough to walk up to her and love on her. And I guarantee you, if we were up there working, then she'd come back.
I think you're right.
If she saw us.
Yeah.
If she saw us.
I think you're right.
I'm going to have to ask the owner next time I see him, are they friendly with them?
You have to ask
just
him
a Brooke thing?
But are we going to get donkeys?
Are we going to? I would love to have a donkey.
Yeah, we discussed it. I don't know if we get a big one, if we get a mini one. I know Daniel and DJ just got a mini one that was like a mini with stripes on. That thing's cute as a button.
Well, when I left the donkey Snow White that day, you said, would you want a mini donkey? And I was like, no, I like her.
Like the full size one.
I like her just fine.
So I'm sure we'll probably end up with a donkey at some point, but it'd be later on down the road. Once we get established here, once we figure out, because, me and you've talked about it here recently, where the animals are now probably is not where they're going to be a year or 2 from now.
Who knows? Who knows?
Because we're going to change stuff up. That's just the hand we were dealt. We had to come up with a place to put all the animals fast, and that was the best possible location.
And we've talked in the past, we'd like to build a barn.
That's correct.
We would like to, well, it's not we would like to, we are going to build Moody and Mildred a pasture area where they can be together. Mildred right now thinks she's a goat.
She does think she's a goat.
I don't know how that's going to work once she's going to be with Moody eventually.
She'll be with Moody. And who's to say that Joe and Topper won't be with them too? Who knows how it's all going to work?
I don't know. I don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah.
But Mildred thinks she's a goat, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. And speaking of Mildred won't take her bottle anymore.
She is through with the bottle. She does not want the bottle. Period.
I offer it to her every day of my life, and I pour it out in the pasture to the point where I said I can't offer it to her anymore because she doesn't want it.
She eats grain now. She's
a
big girl. She eats
grain, and she doesn't want the bottle. And she had gotten to where she acted like she would put her mouth on it, and she was like, I don't want this. And she'd put her mouth on it, and I really don't want this, but I'm going to take it anyway.
Yeah.
And then she'd take it. And it went like that for about a week before she just would not come to me for the bottle. She didn't want it.
That's just crazy. I would have thought it would have been so hard to get her to stop taking that bottle, but it did not.
Well, with our goats, they would take it right now.
Yeah, the goats seem to be that way. But, all of our goats wean themselves pretty quick. Remember the babies liked the grain.
Yeah, they did.
Just as much as they did their mama's milk.
They did.
At some point. And then they just eventually stopped drinking milk.
But, some people have even sent emails that are cattle farmers and say that she needs to be on that bottle till she's at least 9 or 10 months old. Y'all, I can't help it.
Yeah, she doesn't want it.
If she won't take it, I cannot wrestle that cow and make her take that bottle.
So
I can't do it.
You know, she's perfectly fine. She's still getting big. She's healthy. She's gaining weight. So we're going to roll with it. I guess Mother Nature's going to do what Mother Nature's going to do.
I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't expecting her to.
That either.
You know, I just thought that she was just being a little difficult. I wasn't expecting her to not take the bottle. And boy, I poured it out two mornings in a row.
It's crazy.
Because she did not want it.
She don't want it.
She don't
Crazy. I had several people ask this, and I just want to make sure people know who it is. Who designed our website, and what is their contact information? And that is Jacqueline and Zach at Head Family Farm, and everything is on their website, and that is headfamilyfarm.com. Their contacts there. Their consulting for websites is there, so be sure to check it out. That's headfamilyfarm.com.
Just like this,
awesome.
Head, H-E-A-D.
Yeah. Awesome folks, and enjoy working with them because I'm constantly asking her and bugging her and Zach all the time. So thank y'all.
This is a question that gets asked over and over and over and over.
Uh-huh.
Where did the pigs go?
Where did the pigs go that were in the garden? And we've mentioned it a couple of times, and they did go to the processor. So
that was our initial intent when we got the pigs.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what I've noticed in the area where they were?
What's that?
In the area where we had the pigs to do the tilling, the weeds are just non-existent.
They are non-existent. Isn't that crazy?
It is. And then you can almost see to a perfect square where the pigs were and then where we just, started over.
How long does it take us to do the chores, and who all gets fed twice a day? The chores, on days that we go in, and we have some days that we don't have to do as much everything as we do other days, because some days like Moody and the goat waters will be completely clean and nothing there. But then there's some days we have to scrub, but on those days we have to scrub and stuff. It's a lot of work. You're talking from doing Moody, and the good thing is we all split up. If we didn't do that, I'm thinking it'd probably take an hour and a half, 2 hours.
But you know what I found since we've moved here?
What's that?
Not that it ever felt like a chore at Little Cog.
Yeah.
But it took so much time to where you kind of had to plan it.
You know what's crazy is I read a comment where somebody said it seemed to them that our chores at Little Cog were way easier and didn't take near as long as they do here, and that's not the case at all.
That's not the case.
I don't know if it's just the way it was portrayed on the videos, but too, at Little Cog we didn't have 2 cows.
Yeah.
For one.
Right.
And so that's taken up a good bit more.
Right.
We didn't have 3 chicken coops. We didn't have pigeons.
Right.
So
the peacocks are enclosed here, whereas they weren't at the other.
Right. So there's some big differences between the two, and it's a lot more efficient here versus as it was there. I can tell you that.
But I don't ever wake up with the mentality that I don't want to feed this morning.
No, not at all.
I'm always happy to go out and see everybody and to take care of the feeding and the watering, and it never feels like a chore.
Never feels like a chore.
So although we call it chores, that's just how we refer to it.
Yeah.
It's not really chores because I don't ever. There's never a time when I say, "Oh, I don't want to fill up those swimming pools today," or "Oh, I don't want to clean waters out today." I don't ever feel that way,
Never
and
feel
I don't think I ever will. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where, because if I didn't like it, I wouldn't be doing it.
The only time is that when it's 50% of the time when I got Joe and Topper and Moody all in the same pasture.
And you take care of them every single day.
Every time. And 50% of the time, Joe thinks he's going to eat Moody's feed.
Yeah.
And not that I don't want to do the chores. He just makes me so daggum mad sometimes because I've changed it up a little bit. I got a little quicker, but he will go no matter what bucket I use, no matter what feeder I use, don't matter if I went in the pasture, if I go out of the pasture. He's a lot faster than Moody is.
Yes.
So he will go in and he'll even though Moody's standing right there, it's kind of like a cat versus a dog per se, but he'll go in, he'll stick his head in Moody's feed before Moody gets there, before Moody can, and Moody sees it, so Moody reacts, and then Joe knocks it over, so all Moody feed goes on the ground.
Yep.
And I'm like, dadgummit, and it's 50% of the time. But here recently, what I've done is, you got the big watering trough, so I'm putting the feed on the side of that watering trough, so Moody's right here, so Joe don't have his window of opportunity is a lot smaller. So the last 3 times I've done that, Joe hasn't. He's looked at it and he's like, I don't know where I can get in. I don't see where I can get in this situation. So, but he immediately knows is that after I feed Moody, I feed them.
Yeah. You would think he would just give up.
You would think he would just give up. The worst days is when I go feed Moody. Or was. It hadn't had happened in a while, or the last 3 times. As I feed Moody, Joe hits it, knocks it over. Then Moody says, well, you done knocked my darn food over. So then Moody runs to me while I'm trying to feed the goats in the goat feed. Then Moody takes the goat feed, and then Joe runs over there, and it's like a big chaos musical chair situation between. And poor old Topper's like, look, guys, cut it out. I just want my food, man. Just cut it out.
Joe is by far the most aggravating animal on the farm. And I'm not saying that being funny. He is the only one on the farm that is aggravating.
He is something. He's so fast and he's so big. I mean, he's the biggest thing here besides Moody. Yeah. Eventually, Mildred would be bigger than him, but Joe's a big
I'm starting
goat.
to think Mildred might be a miniature, and somebody was looking out for us and said, I want the Cogs to have a miniature cow because she's just not that big.
I tell you what, she's not that big. She's wide. She's getting thick. I tell you what Joe would do when I went inside there was, no matter where I had that bucket, he's like a heat-seeking missile, and he doesn't miss. His head goes straight in the bucket, and it's like that. And so I'm trying to fight him, and then I got Moody looking at me, and then Moody gets excited, and so then I'm wrestling Joe, who probably weighs 150, 200 pounds. Then I got a 1,600-pound steer wanting to play and wrestle and try to get the food. So, I mean, I eventually said I'm not going in there no more to feed him. It just got to be too much. Or feed Moody. I feed him first on the outside of the fence. Then I go in and feed the boys. But anyways, Joe is a handful. Love him to death.
He's got a lot of personality.
He does. I get so tickled at him. He thinks he's the same size as Moody. He does. And lo and behold, he rears up as high as he can and thinks he's going to hit Moody. And I'll laugh till I'm crying sometimes.
Yeah, Moody just puts his head down.
He's
like, man, please.
Please.
You cannot contend with the big moo.
It is, and Topper never does it.
No,
never.
Topper's just
he's very low key.
He is. But Joe's been high strung since we got him.
Joe's been like that ever since we got him. He has. And he really has.
You don't have to look. Joe's a registered Nubian.
He is.
I have to look back at his. Isn't his registered name Mighty Joe?
I think so.
Mighty Joe something.
Is it Mighty Joe Young? That was a movie.
Mighty Joe Young. I want to say that's what it was.
Maybe.
A gorilla, wasn't it?
Yes, it was a movie about a gorilla. You're right.
But
I was thinking of Volcano.
I don't even know how old Joe is. I want to say 2019, so he would be 3.
Okay. Oh, Joe. He's getting old.
Shoot. Topper's older than him.
Oh, gosh. Oh, my gracious. Oh, me. Why do we not see Brooke's mom, and where will we ever see her? And we've answered this before. We will get so many new viewers though. And I actually told Jacqueline to add this one on the website.
Oh, okay.
Yep. In our frequently asked questions section on our website, and your mom wants to remain private. She doesn't want to be on the camera.
I told Mama yesterday. I said people are loving your house because our last video was the garage and the house and how it's coming together, and how Mama said that we could move into the house if we choose to, when her house obviously is going to be ready first.
Correct. That
we could move in the house. And there were so many people saying, oh, how nice of your mom to allow you to move into her house if you get hers finished and da-da-da. And then the next statement was, will we be able to meet your mama? And so I told Mom, I said, these people want to meet you. And she's like, not happening.
Not happening.
It's just her.
She doesn't want to be on camera.
That don't want their picture taken, and they don't want to be on camera. Y'all probably think she really doesn't exist, but I'm here somehow, and she she lives in that tiny house, but you're just gonna have to imagine an image of a mama.
Every now and then, and you can see her unfocused in the background of very few videos, and I can't even tell you which ones they are, but she is around.
Yeah, a lot of times she'll be outside when we're filming, and we have to say, Mama, be quiet, we're filming.
We're filming, or don't walk over here, we're filming, or are you going to be on camera?
Yeah, so that's how it goes.
That's how it goes. The other big mystery is what about that old farm truck we bought?
I'm starting to wonder myself.
Well, you know what? We got so much going on here that I'm kind of glad that, that I'm not having to run and go get parts, and to be quite honest with you. I have. Yeah,
we probably do better having them shipped.
Yeah, probably so. But I talk to the dad every now and then, so the farm truck is still here. I haven't put any pressure on them.
No, it's not here.
No, it's not here. It's at their place, and so therefore,
it's still coming. How about that?
Yeah, it's still coming. I don't know when, but that's just something that I really don't want to have to fool with right now.
Yeah, I totally agree. We got enough going on than to worry about cranking a truck every day that we're probably not going to drive right now, or, have no need for it, just an extra vehicle being parked. So it's fine the way it is. Just know that one day
we'll have the old farm truck.
One day we'll have the farm truck.
Hookbills ducks. How did the hookbill ducks hatch and all that? The hookbill eggs. We have a situation with the barn. That's the only place we can put our eggs. The only place we can hatch eggs is in the barn. And the big fluctuating temperatures in that non-insulated old tin barn was not happening with the incubators. We could go in there one day.
Yeah, we could go in there on a morning like today. Like it was 33 degrees
and it
this
would
morning.
Be, yes.
Well, on up into the if we went down there to check on them, the incubator would be 88 degrees.
I mean, there were some times I looked and it was in the 70s.
And that's not going to cut it for hatching eggs. You need to be around, 100. Just say average, around 100.
Right.
And the humidity needs to be right. And so our first batch that we put in there were just duds from the temperature.
So there's just been a big issue with us trying to hatch eggs in the barn. It's just not going to work at all.
We're just limited to space. We don't have anywhere to put the incubator, and we don't have any way to maintain a temperature.
Right.
And I have a feeling during the summertime,
it's going to get too hot.
When it's 100 degrees outside, the incubator's going to go above where it needs to be.
Right. So there's just no way we can regulate it, which leads me to this. Well, when AC/DC passed away, we had several viewers send us some hatching eggs. And unfortunately, we do not have the means to hatch them. Because I just know if we put them down there like today, the incubator would have been and no telling how many hours it would have done this.
Yeah.
It just got too cold, and the eggs are not going to take. So
it would finally reach temperature, but it wouldn't stay there.
Right. It wouldn't stay there. It's just not going to work. So we ended up getting some friends of ours who has an incubator, and they're incubating them. So fingers crossed, all that works out. But us hatching eggs here on the farm, we cannot do right now.
And then the friends that are hatching them are limited to the amount of eggs that they can hatch.
Right.
It's just a small styrofoam little giant incubator.
Right.
And, they're kind enough to take those that have sent them, but we don't have the ability.
Do not have the ability to hatch eggs right now. But
and we don't have the ability to raise chicks.
Yeah, because of the brooder situation. It'd be the same kind of thing that we got going on, that the barn's just not ready for us to...
Melinda raised her chick herself.
Yep.
And the Modern Games, they raised theirs. So, unless there's a mama present that raises them, we can't do it.
Right.
We can't do it.
We can't do it right now.
I mean, maybe one day, but...
Hopefully one day,
but we got other things to contend with right now.
That's right. I mean, Marycarl's been feeding pigeon chicks in the camper.
Oh,
so
yes.
That's been crazy. Why did this one it's crazy that this question came up so many times, but peonies. Why I'm not trying to grow peonies here? Far as I know, unless there's a variety out there that I don't know about, and it could be, they do not like the Alabama weather. I don't know what zones peonies are good for. And zones also don't mean everything, because zone 8, we're in zone 8. So zone 8 in Alabama could be totally different than zone 8 in Oregon. And I think we may have discussed this before, but our humidity is just brutal. So hot and humid here. And evidently peonies do not like that, just like raspberries don't like it, and there's some other plants out there that don't like it that we can't grow. But peonies seems to be one of them. I don't know of anybody in Alabama that grows peonies, but I mean, there may be a variety out there we can. I don't know. But as far as I know, it is not a popular flower here, and that's more likely the reason why. It just doesn't like our climate at all. Another question came up was would I ever have a cold room for the flowers? Right now, no. This would be something that I'll have to gauge and see if it would be needed in the future. But right now, I don't see us having any type of cold room for the flowers. I just don't see it happening. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, we would be biting off more than we could chew if we anticipated needing it and going ahead and doing that.
Right. Nope, I don't see that. We got one main source right now. I think we're just going to fresh cut them, put them in water, and then either that day or the next day, take them on over there. So we'll see how that goes. Marycarl's name. This one came up a ton when I was looking through the questions, which was strange. Crazy how questions come up. But how did Marycarl's name? I know we've answered this in some older videos before, but her name, of course, Mary was my grandmother. And, of course, your mom.
Yes, my mom is Mary Lou. So Mary is there on both sides.
Right. And then Carl was your dad's name.
Yes, my dad was Carl, and I never really liked the name Carl. But I always felt like I didn't anticipate having a child growing up, but I always thought if I did, that Marycarl was a good name.
Yep.
And then my dad passed away in 2000, and Marycarl never got to meet him. So it was just there to honor his name by Marycarl.
Yep.
And I wouldn't change it. And I don't think she would either. She likes her name.
She likes her name.
And she has a middle name, too. Marycarl Camille Smith.
Yep.
We wanted Marycarl to be one word, and so she needed a middle name, and we added Marycarl Camille Smith.
Right.
She's got a lot going on there.
Very unique name, too. I don't think there's many Marycarls out there.
Oh, somebody sent an email after we discussed it a long time ago. And they had a child or a niece or something that was named Marycarl.
Oh, that is awesome.
Oh, that's what I said.
It's just not like Jason.
No. Or Brooke. Brooke nowadays is a very common name. Whereas when I was in school, I was the only Brooke in my class forever.
I'll have 5 Jasons in my class. It was crazy.
My first name's Olivia, so...
not many of those either.
No, Olivia Brooke.
Interesting. Jason, why are my greens bolting? What can I do to stop this? Do I have the right variety? I don't know what variety you planted, but typically... when greens bolt, it's because they got too hot due to weather. And these crazy weather swings we've had all across the country, I can imagine that you're not the only one that's had greens bolt. My tatsoi bolted.
Yep.
Now, there are varieties that are better at not bolting. You just have to do some research on that. But generally speaking, bolting happens because you have a cool crop, such as especially here we can't grow lettuces in the summertime because they'll bolt on us, but your greens, your cabbages, broccoli, cauliflower, those things like cooler temperatures. So if it gets above that threshold, they'll bolt on you and go to seed because they think, hey, I'm through producing whatever I'm producing. It's time to make some seeds, baby. And that's what they'll do to you.
What can you still eat those greens?
Typically what happens is they turn bitter once the plant bolts. And that's why it's so important that you try not to keep them from bolting. So you can't control the weather. If it happens, it is what it is. And you just have to roll with the punches. The only thing is that if you were a new gardener and you planted the thing at the wrong time, like we couldn't we couldn't plant lettuce, late spring.
Right now.
Or late. I'm trying to think. Collard greens. We can't plant collard greens. We can plant collard greens early spring.
Yeah.
And get
because
some.
Through this cool weather they would have done well, but like
last week, we had 5 days of the 80 to 85 degrees, they probably would have bolted on us. So
it's going to be back in the 70s this week.
Goats, the plastic chains on the goats. I know this is a recurring question, but I like to answer it. Why do we have those plastic chains on our goats?
Why do we have those plastic chains on our goats? Well, first of all, we think they look cool. And second of all, if we need to grab them for any reason, to vaccinate them, worm them, whatever we need to do.
Lead them around.
It's a good way to grab them and give them a hold and until we can get a better grip on them. And that's just the way we do it. They're easy break, and if anything were to happen, we've never had an issue with them.
Never had an issue.
If they were to ever get caught up on anything, those little plastic links are made to where they will break off, and they're actually sold at goat supply stores.
They are specific for goats. Now, I think a lot of your big dairy farms, they use them instead of like tagging. You know how Moody had those tags in his ears?
Right.
They'll use like the colors for certain things and that kind of thing. So you'll see them in big dairy goat farms. But yes, for leading around, they're completely safe, and that's why we have them on our goats.
Yep.
Jason, do you ever use bone meal? No. And not that it's bad. There's two reasons that I don't use bone meal. Number one, it's really, really slow. So if you gave your plants bone meal, chances are it may not be this year before they uptake. It may be next year. But the main reason that I don't like bone meal, and blood meal kind of do it too, but definitely bone meal. I've seen bone meal with my own eyes. If you have any type of canine,
I'm laughing over here.
They will dig up your bone meal. Whatever you plant, if you don't have a fence to keep your dogs out, they will dig your bone meal up. So if you have a fox, if you have coyotes or whatever, it could attract them to your garden. So I kind of stay away from bone meal for that very reason. I planted a bed slap full of daffodils one year. We lived in town, and it was going to be beautiful. I mean, I filled it up.
This is hilarious.
And bulbs, that's what I was read, that bulbs like bone meal. And so I put, just a little dab of bone meal in each hole.
Jason spent oodles of time getting this bed ready. And it was going to be beautiful.
It was going to be beautiful. The neighbors were going to love driving by our house because this was a humongous curved bed full of daffodils. The next day, every single one I planted was dug up and strode all across the yard. Every one.
Along with the culprit. The culprit was laying in the bed, which was a little chihuahua about this big. His name was Petey. And he belonged to a neighbor. But we love Petey.
We did love Petey to death.
Petey.
I didn't love Petey that day, though.
No, Petey got yelled at. Petey got in trouble.
Petey made me
terrible.
so mad.
Jason had fire coming out of both his ears. And poor little Petey was like, oh, that bone meal was delightful.
But yes, I don't use bone meal. Not to say that you shouldn't use bone meal, because bone meal is a great, especially you can find an organic source of it. But generally, bone meal is very, very slow to produce, calcium for your plants. So you can use it, but just be aware of dogs or canines in the
or chihuahuas.
Chihuahuas named Petey.
Poor Petey.
Jason, what types of tables do you use for your ceilings? I've seen them in the greenhouse. I use $30 Walmart 6-foot card tables is what it is, or foldable tables.
Yep.
I figure that they're plastic. There is some metal at the bottom. They're cheap, $30. I couldn't build. I told you, I said I thought about building me some tables for the greenhouse, but I thought as high as lumber is right now, I could buy probably 10 of these Walmart tables.
Right.
And so far, I've had no issues with them whatsoever. This was funny because we mentioned it in, I think, the last podcast where you said that Zach could play the guitar Zach Head, and that and I said we were going to have a picking and a grinning. And there's people said, what is a picking and a grinning? That is a old saying here in the South, meaning just a good time with somebody that can play a guitar or banjo. Some dancing could be involved, laughing's going to be involved, but it's just an old saying of just that.
It must be derived from, a lot of people use a pick when they're picking a guitar.
That's right.
A pick is just a triangle piece of plastic or whatever that helps them get a hand on the strings. And so picking and a grinning.
Picking and a grinning. I just
don't think twice when we say things.
I don't think
other people
twice.
Don't realize.
Yes. Yeah, I agree 100%. And there's no telling what I always say. That I know when I say quite often that people get tickled at when I say, like my greenhouse hung in there like a hair in a biscuit. And so, that's one that I see people get kind of tickled about. And fixing.
That's what I was thinking
I say fixing all the time. We're fixing to
go eat lunch.
Fixing to go eat lunch. And so, and people get tickled at fixing a lot. Oh, my gracious. Well,
I'm fixing to go eat lunch.
We're fixing to end the podcast.
We're fixing to eat some lunch.
Oh, my gracious. Well, guys, I hope y'all enjoyed this episode of the Cogcast podcast, and I hope we answered a lot of y'all's questions.
If we didn't, resubmit it. Put a question mark at the end.
Put a question mark. It's so much easier for us to search for the questions if it's got a question mark on it. And I saw a lot of people were doing double question marks. So
yeah.
I knew that those really wanted to be answered, and I tried to pick a lot of those.
Oh, how nice of you. So triple will be even better.
Triple is probably quadruple question marks, yeah. But, guys, we thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy y'all, and thank y'all so much for everything. And as always, y'all be good.
Well, it's another one in the books for the Cog Hill 40. Join us again next week for our next edition of the Cog Hill podcast. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.